for the course Cyber Security. Let's start today's session on firewalls. Okay. Let's move on to the presentation. Let me share my presentation. The screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. So, good evening, one and all. Let's start a new unit. So far we have seen 6 units in the curriculum of cyber security. Today we are going to start with the 7th unit. The name of the unit is Firewall. So today we are going to deal with what is meant by a firewall and the definition of firewall, what is the need for using the firewall in our internet, and what are the types involved in it. Okay, we'll see one by one. Okay, so the main objective of today's session is to make you known about firewall. Okay, and the outcome of today's session is the students will be able to understand the concept of firewall. Okay, and these are the outlines of today's session. Let's see what is the introduction part of firewall, and what is meant by a firewall, and why do we need a firewall, and we'll be seeing the history, how the firewall emerges into the computer security or network security. Okay, and what is meant by an application firewall, and let's see what is the difference between host-based firewall and network-based firewall. Okay, and we'll be seeing the types of firewalls. There are 2 types. The first one is hardware firewall and the second one is software firewall. And we'll be seeing the comparison between the hardware firewall and software firewall. Okay, so how does the software firewall work? We'll be seeing what is the working nature of software firewall, and there are some rules regarding the firewall. We'll be seeing the rules may be allowing some information, denying some information, denying in the sense that block some information, and ask some demand. Okay, so these are some of the rules involved in firewall, and what can a firewall do and what the firewall cannot do. So all these points can be discussed. Okay, and we'll see the types of firewall, filter techniques. Okay, and there are so many types involved in it. We'll see one by one, and we'll see the advantages and disadvantages and the benefits of firewalls, and we can come to the conclusion. Okay, fine. So what is the introduction part of firewall? Okay, so in the internet you might have seen so many amount of information available. So that information can be accessed by the users at the home. There is home users, business users, education users. So there are so many uses of the internet. So okay, so for many people they have some they are in need to access some information. Okay, so some information can be given permission to be accessed. Some information, that is confidential information or secured information, may not be given permission to the users. Okay, so some restrictions should be maintained. Okay, so for that purpose we can go for firewalls. Okay, and therefore, so network security plays a major important role. So this network security is provided by the firewall. Okay, and here you can see the picture. So that is LAN connection is there and WAN connection is there. So in between these two, a firewall is there. Okay, so LAN is considered to be a internal network. Okay, that is local network or private network, and WAN is considered to be a public network. Okay, that is your internet. Okay, so how far the communication between the LAN and WAN is going to be carried out. Okay, so from the WAN there are some restrictions. Some data packets can be transferred to the internet. So not all the data from the private network is allowed to pass on to the internet. So there are some restrictions that will be specified by the user-defined rules. Okay, so fine. Firewall is going to be a hardware device or software application or the combination of both. Okay. So this firewall is used to prevent the unauthorized programs or internet users from accessing the private network and or single network. Okay, so that is private network in the sense local area network or a particular network. Okay, so there are some restrictions. So it used to prevent some unauthorized access. Okay, and you can have the definition for firewall as a hardware or software hardware device designed to permit the transmissions or deny in the sense blocks the network transmission based upon some user-defined rules. So that rule will be designed by the user based upon the request the firewall will act upon. Okay, and it is frequently used to protect the network. So mainly firewall gives the protection to the network. So security is provided with the help of the firewall from the unauthorized access while permitting the legitimate communications to pass. What is meant by legitimate communication? That is trusted network or trusted transmission of information can be allowed to pass through the network. Okay, so firewall can perform some basic routing functions. Okay, so normally what does this router will do means it performs the routing function that it has to find out the best path or optimal path to route the packets. That's the main function of the router. Okay. Okay. So coming on to the firewall and other definitions, it's a system. Network firewall is a system or group of systems used to control the access between the two networks. So one is the trusted network, the other one is the untrusted network. Okay. So using some predefined rules or filters, they are going to act upon it. The firewall is going to act upon the private network and the public network. Okay. So private network is nothing but the local area network and the public network is nothing but the internet or WAN. Okay, fine. So firewall is a device that provides the security between the internal and the external network. Okay, and it is used to implement the security or enforce the security policy. Policy means some rules. That is, so whatever the information, suppose some information is going to be a confidential one. So the user may be user will demand that. So these particular confidential information need not to be passed on to the internet. So for that case, the firewall will block those secured information. Okay. So based on the security policy means a rule specified by the user. Okay. So okay. The firewall can be a hardware or software or a combination of both. It is used to prevent the unauthorized internet users from accessing the private network or simple computers. Okay. So this is the concept here. All the messages entering the intranet. Intranet means that is within the network. Okay, fine. So all the messages entering the intranet or leaving, which will pass through the firewall. The firewall will examine each message. Okay. So whatever the messages, either it can be transmitted to the other system or to the intranet, or it has to block. So that it do not meet the specified security criteria. Okay. So the same thing. Okay, we'll move on to the next. Okay. So why do we need a firewall? Okay. So the first, foremost important why you need is that it protects the confidential information. Security to the information. Okay. So from those who do not explicitly need to access. So some users will say that the particular information is not needed. So for those users, the packet will not be sent through the firewall. Okay. So the confidential information is protected by denying access to the all users on the network. Okay. The next thing is to protect our network and its resources. Okay. From the malicious users. Malicious means unknown users. Okay. Or unauthorized users. Okay. So firewall will protect all those resources from the unknown users that originate outside of the network. So for these two main reasons, we need a firewall. Okay. So what is the role of firewall? So it will act as a barrier. Barrier in the sense, in between the private network and the public network, it is placed in between. So it is acting as a barrier between the network of machines and the users that operates upon the common security policy. Okay. So there are two main reasons for using the firewall. So first of all, to save the money in concentrating your security on a small number of components. The next thing, to simplify the architecture of a system by restricting access to only to the machines that trust each other. So those are all the users who trusted users, they will get the information. So untrusted users, they will be being blocked by the firewall. The information is being blocked by the firewall. So let's see the history of firewalls. So first, the firewall technology began to emerge in the year 1980s. Okay, and the internet was still having a new technology in terms of its global usage and connectivity. And in 1988, an employee at the NASA Ames Research Center in California sent an memo by the email to his colleagues that reads, "We are currently under attack from the internet." That is, virus has been spread. Okay. And the first paper published on firewall technology was published in the year 1988 when Jeff Mogul from the Digital Equipment Corporation developed the filter system. So he was the first person who published the paper on the firewall technology, and he developed a filter system known as the packet filter firewall. So this was the first firewall designed by Jeff Mogul. Okay. Okay. So one of the firewall is one of the largest internet security companies in the world released products to the public in 1997. Okay. And what is mundane application firewall? So this is a specialized firewall that is it's coded. That is program has been written for the type of the traffic that is infected by the firewall. Okay. So that is application. For every application, so that is application firewall. It has been coded for inspecting the traffic. Okay. So So the most widely developed application firewall is, best example is web application firewall. So let's say what is the difference between the host-based firewall and the network-based firewall. So host-based means host, you know already, that is host is specifying the particular personal computer, that is machine. Okay. So that is installed on an individual computer to protect it from the activity of occurring on its network. Okay. So from the individual computer, it has been protected from the internet. That's the meaning of host-based firewall. Okay. Network-based firewall is implemented at a specific point in the network path. Okay. So the collection of machines that is going to be called as a network. Okay. So network-based means that is on the way to the path on the network, it has been implemented. Okay. And it protects all the computers on the internal side of the firewall from all computers on the external side of the firewall. Okay. So this concept is have been seen in the previous first slide itself, from the private network and the public network. Okay. So that is network-based firewall. Okay. So it is protecting all the computers on the internal side of the firewall from all the computers on the external side of the firewall. Okay. So let's see what are the two types of firewall available. One is hardware firewall and the other one is software firewall. So what is meant by hardware firewall? So the first picture depicts the hardware firewall. See here. So these are all the systems connected together, and this is your internet and this is your public network. Okay, and here you can see the router. Okay, so TCP/IP router. So this is the hardware firewall. Usually in this router, it is the firewall has been integrated. Okay, that's the meaning. So this is called as a hardware firewall. So the hardware firewall will provide the protections to the local area network. Okay. So coming on to the software firewall. So this is all are called as local area network, and so this in every machine or individual computer has been installed with the software firewall. Okay, so computer with the firewall software, it has been installed. Like any software that you are going to use, you need to go for installation process. Likewise, so software firewall also needs to be installed in your personal computer. Okay, so that the PC or the computer has been protected from the any other malicious users from the outside network, that is public network. Okay, so see here. So these are all the blue lines which represents the secure private network, and this red line represents the public network. Okay, so the computer running the firewall software will provide protection to the particular personal computer. Okay. So what is meant by a hardware firewall? It is like a physical device. So in this picture you can see that. So these are all the machines connected as locally. Okay, that is, it's the local area network, and this is your modem. Okay, modem, and this is the router which connects the modem and the PC. Okay, fine. So it can be, this firewall can be installed between the modem and the computers. Okay, that is, it is installed in a router or a standalone device. Okay, fine. So it can be incorporated in a broadband router being used to share the internet connections. Okay, so hardware firewall, it will protect the entire network. So usually this hardware firewall is becoming more expensive and very hard to configure this firewall. So for example, for hardware firewalls or Scopix, Nettree, Watch, Fraud, okay, these are some of the hardware firewalls listed here. Okay, and coming on to the software firewall, you can see this picture. So this is your individual computer. So like any software that you are going to use it, the first and foremost thing is to install that particular software into your PC. Likewise, this software firewall needs to be installed on your PC. Okay. So it's nothing but a software application. Software firewall is a software application and it is installed on your computer system, so that it can give protection to the particular individual personal computer. Okay, it protects a single computer. So usually this is usually a computer with a modem. So the software firewall, it will have a modem and it will, in the individual computer, the software firewall has been installed. Okay. So the modem and the computer will be attached. Okay. So this software firewall is usually less expensive and easier to configure in the particular individual personal computer. And example for software firewall is that Norton Internet Security. So Norton, you might have heard this firewall, Norton Internet Security, McAfee Firewall Internet Security. So all these are some of the examples for the software firewall. Okay. Now let's compare the hardware firewall and the software firewall. Okay. So hardware firewall will protect the entire network and it is implemented on the router. Okay. And it's usually more expensive and very hard to configure. Likewise, the software firewall will protect a single computer. Okay. And less expensive and easier to configure. Okay. So this hardware firewall or integrated into the router that sits between the computer and the internet. And software firewalls are installed on the individual servers. Okay. Fine. Any computer can also access the server or the client. So this software firewall will be installed on the servers. Okay, fine. So that intercepts each connection request and then it will determine based on the request whether it has to pass the data packets onto the through the internet or not. It will decide based on the user's rules specified. Okay, fine. So that was the job of the firewall. So let's hear the same thing is depicted here also. So hardware firewalls can be purchased as a standalone product also. It is integrated on the broadband routers and it should be the important part of your system and network setup. Okay. So most hardware firewalls will have minimum 4 network ports to connect other computers. But for larger networks, business networking firewall solutions are available. Okay, fine. So based on the requirement, the ports will be available on the network. Okay. Software firewalls are installed on your computer, like I have mentioned earlier. So it gives some protection to the particular single personal computers. Okay, it will protect your computer from outside attempts or outside attacks like that to control or gain access to your computer. That is, some of the confidential information will be maintained in your particular system that will be given protection with the help of the firewall. Okay. So how does this firewall work? There is software firewall works. So see this picture. So here you are having the home network and this is your internet network, that is public network, and in between you will be having the firewall. So what does this firewall will do means it will inspect each and every packet coming entering the firewall and emerging out the firewall. Okay, so it will inspect the individual packet data packets, so on either side of the firewall, and determines whichever the packets to pass through the firewall and whichever it should be blocked. It will decide based on the policy defined or rules defined. Okay. So what can a firewall do? So it can focus on the security decisions. That is, it can stop the hackers from accessing your computer, and it can enforce these security policies, that is personal information can be restricted, that is it can be protected, and limits your exposure, that is it also blocks some of the pop-up ads you might have seen. So while Google or searching your any content on the internet, you might have seen some pop-up windows very frequently. It is showing some advertisements. So that can also be blocked with the help of the firewall. Okay, and certain cookies can also be appears. Cookies can also be restricted. Okay, fine. So firewall are also used to log internet connectivity, log internet activity efficiency. That is determines which programs can access the internet. And what a personal firewall can do: stop the hackers from accessing your computer. It protects your personal information. The same thing what I have earlier slide we have mentioned. Okay, it also used to block the invalid packets also. Firewall will block the invalid packets. Okay, and what the personal firewall cannot do: so it cannot prevent the viruses that is infecting in your injected into your computers. So for that purpose, you can go for using the antivirus products. Okay. So with the frequent updations, you can prevent the email viruses. Okay, and that will not be prevented by the firewall. Okay, make a note of it. And after setting it initially, you cannot forget about it. Okay. So the firewall will require periodic updates to the rule sets. So whatever the rules predefined to the firewall, it has to be updated regularly. Okay, and the software also needs to be updated. Software of firewall needs to be updated regularly. Okay. So the thing noted to be that the rules need to be updated and the software also needs to be updated. Okay. So add more points to what firewall can do. So firewall can protect the users from the malicious insiders, cannot protect the users against the connections that don't go through it, cannot also protect against completely new threats. It cannot protect from threats also. It cannot protect against the virus also. Okay. So main thing, firewall is used to protect from the unauthorized access of your confidential information. Okay. And these are the types of firewall techniques listed here. The first one is packet filter. Second one is application gateway, otherwise called application level gateway. Third one is circuit level gateway, and the last one is bastion host. Okay. Let's see the first firewall, that is packet filter technique. Okay. So see in this picture. You are having the trusted network and the untrusted network. So in between you are having the firewall rule set. So whatever the packets coming from the trusted network, it checks for the rules. So the firewall will do the rule checking process. So rule set, it will goes on searching whether any rule set has been specified for those packets coming from the trusted network. It checks. Once it is checked, whether it has states allow the packet to enter into the untrusted, or it can deny the packet. Deny means it can block it or reject the packet. Okay. So the packet filter will examine the packets entering or leaving the network, whether it has to accept or reject based on the user-defined rules. Okay, fine. But it is very difficult. The packet filtering is very difficult to configure. It is very effective to the users also and transparent to the users also. So in addition, it is susceptible to the IP spoofing also. What is meant by IP spoofing? So this is nothing but the creation of internet protocol packets which with a false IP address, with a false source IP address. That is called as IP spoofing. The next one is application gateway. So what is meant by application gateway? So gateway means it can be used at the application layer. Okay, connecting devices used at the application layer. Okay, in such type of firewall, remote host or the remote network can interact with the proxy server. So proxy means it will be doing the process of a server. It will give some information or data can be accessed to the proxy server. So this proxy server will be responsible for hiding the details, whatever the confidential information or details which is being stored in the internal network or intranet. Okay. So proxy server function is to hide the details of the intranet. Okay. And the users can use this TCP/IP applications such as FTP and Telnet servers. Okay, so here you can see this inside host and outside host. In between, you can use the application level gateway. So, what are the protocols used in this application layer? Means Telnet, that's remote login, and FTP file transfer protocol, SMTP is simple mail transfer protocol, HTTP hypertext transfer protocol. So these are the protocols used at the application layer. Okay. So what does this application level gateway means? It is applied on the firewall will be applied on the application layer. It is between the inside connection and the outside connection. It protects the application layer between the inside, that is private network, and the public network. So this is very effective, but it can impose the performance degradation also. Okay. Next comes the circuit level firewall. So this can be a standalone system or it can be a specialized functions performed by the application level gateway for certain applications. So it does not permit the end-to-end TCP connection. Rather, the gateway sets two TCP connections. Okay. So the typical use of this circuit level gateway is the situation where the system administrator trusts the internal users. Okay. So here you can see the circuit level gateway. So in this, you can have the inputs coming from and outputs that is going out. Okay. So the gateway can be configured in such a way to support the application level or the proxy service on the inbound connections. And the circuit level functions bastion host. It will be a on network designed and configured to withstand the attacks. So whatever the attacks coming into it, the bastion host will restrict. So it is generally a host, a simple application. It provides the platform for the application gateway and the circuit level gateway. Okay. And it also supports the specific applications to reduce the threat to the computer, and it includes the applications like Telnet, SMTP, file transfer protocol. Okay. So where does the firewall emergence means? It's worm. You might have heard this worm, virus, all like this. Okay. So worm called Morris worm spread itself through multiple vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities means weakness in the missions. Okay. In prior years, some missions come across some worm. That worm name is Morris worm. Okay. So that was the first large-scale attack on the internet security. So in order to prevent or provide security, some first generation, second generation, and third generation firewall emerges. So in the first generation, packet filters have been evolved, and in the second generation, application level gateway has been evolved, and third generation, stateful filters has been evolved. So stateful filters is nothing but the circuit level gateway, as we have seen in the previous slide. Okay. So coming on to the first generation, we call that as a packet filter firewall. Okay. So the firewall technique calls what do you mean? That is, it is nothing but the digital series of digital numbers, zeros and ones. Okay, it may be, the packet may be the data or the acknowledgement or the request or the command from the originating system, or the packet may be a source IP address and port, or the packet may be a destination IP address and port, and the packet may be a information about the protocol. Protocol set of rules by which the packet is to be handled, which defines information, which defines the packet. Okay? So in packet filtering, so only the protocol and the address information. So address information means source address and the IP address. That source address of the packet and the destination address of the packet is ignored. So if content or ignored, only the source IP and the protocol and the address information. So filtering consists of the incoming packets or the outgoing packets. That is, whether the firewall has to allow such packets or deny some such packets. That is, they disallow their transmission or acceptance based on the rules. That is, rules are called as policies. Okay. So this packet filtering policies may be based upon any of the following. So for example, allowing or disallowing packets based on the source IP address. So the source IP address may be a trusted one, or it can be allowed to the pass on to the network. Allow disallowing the packets on the basis of the destination port. Allow or disallowing the packets according to the protocol. So based on the protocol and the information regarding the source IP address and the destination IP address, the packet filters will act upon it. So coming on to the second generation, it is the application level